Hi, Michael. How you doing?
Good, how are you, sir?
Yeah, it's not the greatest camera in the world, but it does.
It's fine.
Yeah,
You look angelic.
and it's just the lights above me, so yeah, I've got my halo.
Mhm. Looks
Yeah.
good.
So what time is it over there then? Yeah.
10:45 a.m.
Yeah. So it's about nearly 7 o'clock here in the UK. So
Oh, well,
it's
thanks for
fine.
meeting me so late.
No, it's fine. No, it's great. So yeah, it's a wonderful knife. Wonderful. Yeah, so I watched the film a couple of days ago now, so I've had a couple of days to kind of digest on it. Yes, just some. So I was just going to run like a few short questions by you, yeah, just see
Oh,
what you think. So in terms of, I have to ask you the kind of the boring question first. It's kind of like, tell me about the kind of the origin, the writing process behind it. If that's okay.
uh, yeah, I had such a great time on Freaky that I wanted to do another one of these kind of slasher mashups, quite frankly. And I always wanted to do a Christmas movie. I love Christmas. I love Christmas horror. So I knew I wanted to do I remember at the time going, I want to write a Christmas horror movie right now. It was during the middle of the pandemic. There was a lot of downtime. Um, and then I said, well, I also want to do this. What if I just did them together? Did like a genre mashup. And I love It's a Wonderful Life. And it naturally clicked to me like that's the movie I wanted to kind of take and slasherify. Um, and then I quickly when something sparks for me, I can get really quickly into story. And I like my husband will be like, you'll work for like 13 hours straight and I won't eat like hear a peep from you. And that's kind of what happened on this. And I quickly had like a story that I thought was worth telling. So then I went to my producer on Freaky, Adam Hendricks, who produced with Jason Blum. We became good friends on that movie. So I called him and I said, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? And I kind of ran it by him. And I said, also, I'm calling it It's a Wonderful Knife. And he just was like, you fucking asshole. Like, yes, let's do this. So that's kind of how that came about. So then I said, you know what? I've learned in this industry right now with the way things are, it's hard to sell a pitch unless it's part of an IP. So I said, I'm just going to write it. I'll write it. I don't care if I don't get paid for writing it. I'll write it right now. So I did. I just wrote it and like really wrote it the first draft really quick and got really great notes from Adam. He's really good with that kind of stuff and knows like what'll fit in the budget and this kind of stuff and that. So like the initial writing process was really great and fast, but then it took like another 2.5 years to get the movie made.
Yeah. And for me, obviously looking at it, you've got this kind of, it's almost become like this mini subgenre that you've been a pioneer of, obviously between this and Freaky, and we've had Totally Killer, and
Yeah.
obviously Happy Death Day, with your one of your colleagues, Christopher Landon.
Yeah.
Um, why do you think that these two kind of like this mashup that you've been part of, and obviously like I say, pioneered, works so well in
I
terms of
think it's,
time travel slasher? Sorry.
yeah, I think it works really well. I think because it started with Chris and Happy Death Day, right? Like, and I think he set a really great tone in that movie of like what that kind of movie can be. And I think everyone's kind of like, I know for myself, he really influenced me with Freaky. Like when I came up with Freaky, I didn't even know Chris. Like we didn't know each other yet, and it was because of Happy Death Day. I loved that movie. I love his work. And I realized like I fit in that box. There's not a lot of us, I don't think, in that box yet, but I think I fit in that box. And I really realized like that's my lane and I'm going to stick to it. But I also think it works because they're fun, they're fresh, and they're also familiar. I think people love familiarity. I think that's why we hang on to IP so much right now. And it's easy to promote, quite frankly, too. But I also think it pushes to the front of the pack. It gets through a lot of noise that way too. Like I think, and I also think people love being able to watch something that they know. You know what I mean? Like watching Totally Killer, if you know Back to the Future, it adds another layer of fun for the viewer.
Yeah. And there's some really interesting elements of the film as well. One of the things I did pick up on, it was a sentiment around almost like I want to call it an anti-suicide message, which I thought was
Yeah.
really well done. Tell me about kind of writing that without, obviously without probably giving too much away.
Yeah, no, for me it was just about, I have a really strong empathy for people who have committed suicide and people who have attempted. I've thought about it in my past. I haven't in a while, but I thought about it in my past. So I have a really, really empathetic view on it. I think one of the worst things in the world is when someone judges somebody for committing suicide. It's like, do you think they wanted to kill? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just imagine the pain they were going through, that they felt this was the way out. So I don't know if it's anti-suicide in the sense, like, because I think sometimes people, I just don't want that term to get conflated with judging people who go through with the act. But I think for me, when I was suicidal, it would have been really beneficial to talk about it. Looking back on it, it would have been beneficial to have somebody to, quite frankly, tell me I fucking mattered, you know? And that, to me, I'm about to cry, to me is the message more than anything, is that Bernie really learns in the movie that she's the main character in that part of the story, and that she really has an effect on somebody. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. I apologize if it's a bit,
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So for me, it's in a wonderful, It's a Wonderful Life. You know, like, it's there. It's not something I invented with this movie. It's in that movie, and I think a lot of that about It's a Wonderful Life gets lost when people discuss the movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of the drama of that movie gets lost, because It's a Wonderful Life is a very fun movie, but it's also very dark. It's very serious. It talks about a lot of things that we're talking about today. It's amazing how that movie 80 years later really is talking about capitalism the same way we are now, and that kind of stuff. So for me, it was really important to Bernie is my, she's almost like part of me, because I went through that. I know so many people who went through that. And for me, it's also about the anti-suicide part, is also about you're not alone, and it's fun to do it in such a silly way.
Okay, so something a bit more kind of light-hearted, and forgive me if this is a bit too on the nose, but is the Mr. Waters character that Justin Long plays based on Donald Trump?
In a way, yeah. And in fact, the first draft of the script, it was very clear it was based on Donald Trump. I even had like his inflections and voice and dialogue and stuff. But I will say I softened that because I also didn't want it to feel stale or like age poorly. But Justin brought the look to the role. That was like his pitch to us when he took the role. But he also described it as Joel Osteen. Are you familiar with Joel Osteen?
I aren't now. I'm sorry.
He's a big fundamentalist Christian preacher in the States.
Like an evangelist.
Evangelist. He makes a shit ton of money. His sermons are on TV. Like, so Justin came at us with, I want to do him, which is very Trumpian too, So yeah, it was kind of an amalgamation of a couple different things.
Yeah, and talking about working with the director Tyler, so I love, and it's a real shame in this country that we can't get tragedy girls over here.
Really?
It's so hard. I think it never got a digital release. It kind of did a festival run, and that was about it. So every now and then I kind of tweet about it, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Well, it's this amazing little
good
film."
Yeah.
So in terms of when you, because I hadn't seen anything from Tyler since, now and then when I kind of joined the dots afterwards, I was like, this is such a natural fit,
Yeah.
that kind of that dark humor essentially, How closely did you two work together?
Really close. The script was written when we hired him. I was a producer on the movie too, so I got to weigh in on the hiring of Tyler. And we actually talked about Tragedy Girls quite a bit before he was even involved, in kind of how we saw the movie and stuff. But the thing I loved about Tyler, he came on and one of the first thing he says is, I don't want to touch your script. I don't want to type on it. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to have ideas, but I want you to interpret them. So he's like the ultimate collaborator, but he also knows what he wants the movie to look like. So like he's an editor too. Like a lot of people don't know that, but Tyler has an editing background. So he is a lot like Chris Landon in that way, where he can like visually see the movie in his head. So that was really cool because he not only pitched an idea, but he pitched, this is what I want it to look like. But he was also really great about going, but I want you to write it the way you like the way you interpret what I'm saying. And then it was like, okay, well, no, I meant this or this works, you know. So it was very fluid, very fluid.
Yeah.
And we had to write on the fly sometimes too, because we'd lose a location or we had rain for 48 hours. So that whole party sequence was supposed to be outside. None of it was supposed to be inside in the beginning of the movie. But it rained for 48 hours, and it was either we don't shoot and we lose 2 days on the movie, or we have to like really quickly figure out a way to do this. And we had to like rewrite the whole scene like 2 nights before to inside. So like, yeah, it was a very collaborative process between the two of us.
Okay. And you mentioned Chris there. I have to kind of ask, because obviously he has got quite the sweet gig next time round with Scream 7. Without sounding too cheesy, would you like a stab at a Ghostface film in the future?
Oh, absolutely. I would love to do a Scream movie. I would die to do a Scream movie. I would pay to do a Scream movie.
Hopefully it doesn't, you don't have to pay. You know, it's the way around.
Yeah. I'm hoping there is a Scream in my future, but if there's not, that's okay too.
Yeah, and just quickly then, what's the plans in terms of release? Are you looking at cinematic and then potentially a streaming, or a bit of a hybrid mix?
For Knife, it's theatrical here in North America. There's it's sold to some territories in Europe and Asia theatrically. Some are doing a streaming release, some are doing a VOD release. I want to say, I know, like I'm not sure about theatrical in the UK, in Australia, New Zealand, but I know that it at least will be on Shudder there.
Oh,
yeah, so there'll be a Shudder release for sure. Not sure about theatrical. But yeah, it comes out here November 10th. In some territories in Europe, it comes out later in November, some even in December. And then yeah, Shudder sometime before Christmas, I believe. And then they actually are going to do a physical release too of the movie next year.
Oh, fantastic! That's what we want to hear. Physical media.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of physical media, so I was really thrilled when they said that they were going to do a physical release of it too, at some point. So yeah, that's really cool. So I love that there's kind of the option for everybody.
Yeah, wonderful. I think I'm out of time, but
okay.
Thank you so much for taking the time out and being really really honest with your answers. And yeah, best of luck with the release. I think we should just champion it from the rooftops. More Christmas horror.
Yes, please. Thanks, Paul.
All right. Thank you.